When you're starting a career in software development, there's so many extra skills and extra things to know about, right? Algorithms, data structures, frameworks, languages, that sort of thing. And it's really hard to know what's important and what you should learn. But I'm going to let you know what I think you should learn next is test-driven development, otherwise known as TDD. It's an interesting process. Basically, you write a test, and a test is basically some code that uses your code, and says what it expects the code to do. If the code meets that expectation, it passes. If it doesn't, it fails. With test-driven development, what you do is you write a test that fails, and then you write your code until the test passes, and then you write more tests that fail, and you write more code to make it pass, and you keep on doing that until your code is done. Now here's 5 great reasons to do it. Number 1, money. Of course. There's a lot of job postings that I've seen that have had test-driven development, and it happens more and more often as it becomes more and more popular. Even if it's not part of the requirements of a job posting, saying, yeah, I use test-driven development, I know how to do it, all of my stuff has that style in my own projects, is a really big boost. I've experienced that, certainly. Even if you're a freelancer, being able to say, well, I use test-driven development, so I know all of my code will do what's expected of it, that's a really great sell. I know that I've used test-driven development even on my own freelance projects, and it's been a big help. The second thing is debugging is demoralizing. I hate debugging. It's the worst kind of coding, right? Trying to make this work with that, or it didn't work the way you thought it would, or, there's all these other problems. Debugging is just the worst kind of coding. It makes it a lot less fun. With test-driven development, because I have fewer errors, not no errors, but fewer errors, I find that I'm spending a lot less time debugging errors, or the ones I have, well, then those just become new tests. The third thing is that it'll make your code more modular and predictable. I mean, a test by definition takes code out of its context and uses it again, thus modular, and then it makes sure that it does the same thing every time. That's predictable. And modular predictable code, well, predictable code is awesome because that means your program works, right? Your program's reliable. And modular means that you don't have to write all your code at once. Your code will just fit together at the end, which is a great property of code. Not only that, but learning to write tests will make you the kind of coder who writes modular and predictably. It will change the way that you code in that way, which I think is pretty cool. The fourth thing is that it will focus you on the what over the how, right? For me, before I write any code, I'm first stating what my expectation is. This even helps me get out of coder's block, where I start like, I'm not sure what it's supposed to do. Well, let me start writing the functions. I guess it's supposed to do that. This even becomes part of my design process for designing software. It's like, well, it should do this and it should do this. And I start writing that out first, and that really helps me figure out, kind of plan out what I'm going to do. The fifth reason is that your tests become your documentation. If I look at the tests in a project that has test-driven development, I have documentation. I'm seeing how it's being used, which I think is really, really handy. I know exactly how it's supposed to be used. I know exactly what the expectations were of it. And it just immediately provides me documentation. There are even a few testing frameworks I know who have a chance to, you can output your code as Markdown, and that's just the documentation. So that's a really handy aspect of test-driven development. Anyway, I hope I've encouraged you. Kent C. Dodds put out a course on software testing in JavaScript. It's really great. You can use a lot of examples from Jest for JavaScript. And there's testing for all sorts of platforms, all sorts of languages. So I really recommend you look into this and maybe in your next project incorporate it. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful. Thanks so much for your attention and best of luck.